and welcome to Quizzy Monday Live. My name is Gareth Kingston, and what a Quizzy Monday that was. Hopefully everybody can hear me and everybody can see me fine today. Let's just run through a few bits of housekeeping before we get going. We've got two great guests today. We've got Daniel Lawson, who we just saw in action on University Challenge, and we've got Beth Webster, who you'll know from Eggheads, top quizzer. She's also been on Mastermind and I believe not University Challenge, Only Connect. So between the two of them, lots of insights to share. So if we move to the presentation, the Quizzy Monday presentation, just a few bits of housekeeping to lead you off with. And first and foremost, we have been sickened and tired for a long period of time through this channel when we've seen the abuse that's been aimed at quizzers who just have the temerity to go on quiz shows. We put this statement forward earlier in the week. You might have seen us tweeting some images where we've seen a little bit of abuse going on. We couldn't kind of deal with all of that, but we really want to try and take a lead that, quizzes for everybody. The abuse of quizzes is never acceptable, and we have to, as a community, try and stamp it out and do what we can. Some people can deal with it, some people can't, but nobody should be put off from going on or going on again based on that sort of abuse. So we are trying to be quite verbal about that, it's quite important, and we've seen what happens when people disrespect others because of gender, race, sexuality, or whatever, and then take that to the nth degree. So we're kind of taking a stand on that, and we hope people will join us on that. Next up, of course, on to slightly more exciting news and more enjoyable news. Quizzer of the Week was a tie. It was nip and tuck between Dave Gregson and Jonathan Gibson this week, and they ended up level. And you'll have seen Jonathan Gibson on Mastermind tonight. You could see how he did so well in last week's quizzing in the online quiz league, and it earned him a share of Quizzer of the Week along with Dave Gregson, who's done brilliantly in OQL and in the lowbrow Mimir. Third was Victoria Gross. She's a perennial recidivist, as it were, for this table. She got third for being in Team of the Week for both OQL and OQL USA. With Team of the Week, the winners were Central Belters, the largely Scottish team who had a fantastic result in LQL. Second was Victoria Phoenix, just happens to be my team. No diddling going on there. And third was a share between Aging Bulls from the Asian Quiz League and Lockdown Latecomers from OQL. So a lot of good news and good performances from OQL this week. Moving on, this is the answer. What is the question competition? We spent a little bit too long celebrating Mother's Day yesterday with my mum, so we were late putting this out. So you can still send in your question to which the answer is light. You can do it via Twitter, via our Facebook group. Just write any question to which the answer is light, and we'll put that to a vote over the course of the week, and then announce the winner in Quiz Week Live on Thursday evening. Also, a reminder, at lunchtime on Twitter, we have our lunchtime quiz time. At 12 o'clock, we put out a question. At 2 o'clock, we put out the answer. And this was today's, and this month because it was International Women's Day earlier in the month, every question we're putting out is about women. In this case, it's about Mallory Blackman. So look out for those this week. And moving on, if you haven't seen the latest Quiz Academy video, then please, by all means, check it out. There's another one coming soon. I'm just putting the final touches to the edit on that one, and there'll be more coming. Let us know what you want to see in these videos, and we'll try and cover them for you. And I think that's it. So that's enough of me talking. You want to hear from our guests, and I'm glad to introduce Beth Webster to the stream. There's Beth.
Hello.
And Daniel Lawson. Hello, Daniel.
Hello.
Was it as nerve-wracking, Daniel, watching it back as it must have felt in the studio?
Honestly, this one was probably the one that was worse watching it back than being there. I'd forgotten how much it was after the 2 minutes to go that it was decided. After Jeremy said 2 minutes to go, 10 points for this. I was amazed that the match was decided basically in the last couple of minutes. It didn't feel like that at the time, but it must have been.
Yeah,
I felt like I blinked and all of a sudden you were well ahead. I just couldn't believe it.
Yeah, because you zipped away to like 100 points or something unanswered really early on, And I put on Twitter, that if Strathclyde don't get in, this is going to be out of sight. And then I have to say, I think we have to acknowledge that Welsh put in one of the performances of the season in terms of an individual buzzer performance. Without him, Strathclyde I don't think they'd have got near you. He was phenomenal, wasn't he, Daniel?
Cameron was amazing on the buzzer today. Just taking the right risks at the right time, and just the speed of thought required on some of the questions. Yeah, he was amazing. Which was obviously all the more troubling for us sitting there every time that we thought, oh, we've got 100 and something point lead. Oh no, we don't anymore. I don't expect people to remember the other matches we've played, but the other matches we've played have been the exact opposite of this. We've always been behind and caught up at the end. And honestly, that's better, because you don't feel like you've lost any ground you've made up. You don't feel like you're giving points away. Whereas this match just felt like, well, we've gained the lead that we always wanted. That's sort of the best strategy, is to get ahead near the beginning. And then the lead just went, and we were 5 points apart at one point. It was incredible. Yeah.
Did you feel that kind of pressure? Did you feel them coming up on your shoulder? Because, as you say, when things are going well for you, that there's a tendency to think, actually, we're in the zone, we're doing brilliantly, and then as soon as somebody else gets in the zone and you're just being beaten to the buzzer as opposed to the other way around, were there moments where you thought, hang on, this could get away from us if we're not careful?
Yeah, definitely. All of that went through our heads, and I think with UC, one of the things that's easy to forget is that 25 points are available per bonus and start a cycle, and a -5 as well if you do the wrong thing. Yeah. So a 30-point swing is available. So a 100-point lead sounds like a lot, but it's reversible in a very short amount of time, as we saw. So I tried not to think at any time we had a lead, we're fine, because we were absolutely not fine. And then almost because you thought of that, you feel like you brought it on yourself. You thought, oh, they could catch up here, and then they did catch up here. Yeah, and then you've just got to concentrate and go for all the things you're sure you know. So it did put the pressure on, and I don't know if you noticed it. It felt like it put the pressure on me to get the picture, the art starter. It felt like if we get that wrong now, we might have given away the match. And then James Burns' buzz on -4 on the maths. I thought, if that goes the other side, they've got a mathematician. That could shift the match the other way as well. So yeah, that definitely went through our minds, all of that.
There was that moment, I think it was Velasquez, wasn't it, where you busted, your face was kind of like you could see the emotion writ large on you. And if people don't think that this is like a highly competitive sport with all the emotions you get in other sports, we saw it in that moment where it was like, oh, thank God. It was like kind of real, waves of kind of emotion. And then, as you say, that -4, but I'm no mathematician. To me, it sounded like somebody making it up. So when it came out as being right, it was like, well, that is just fantastic. Under that pressure, knowing what is at stake, to have that clarity of thinking was quite something. So superb, Daniel. Beth, was there anything that kind of jumped out at you watching this episode?
Well, there was a few doubles in the whole of Quizzy Mondays, and there's a Senegal Gambia double. We might discuss that when we come to Mastermind, so which I picked out. But just the speed. Unfortunate, no ladies on either side. I'm all for the women in quiz, but just the speed of something. My rule of thumb when it comes to maths on UC is either 1, 0, or -1, and it was none of these.
No, I was just going to say, anybody watching, this thing going on the bottom saying that you can post a comment or a question, and feel free to fire things at any of the panelists. Gerard has said a premature hi from me. Unfortunately, I didn't put it up until it was kind of not premature. So there you go. We have a comment, I believe. I'm not sure actually which Michael that is, but he says, or Infinity as the other stock.
That's another
So it's one of those things that kind of non-quizzes probably don't understand, is that there's a whole bunch of stock answers that we have if all else fails. The whole bird, antelope, fish, triumvirate, and the like. Gerard is saying this, and mathematician should have known his roll theorem from his Bolzano-Weierstrass theorem, though I have no idea whether that's a genuine point or not.
I don't know. I don't know if we can let him off because he was a statistician. I don't know. I don't understand the maths.
Never let statisticians off.
Yeah.
Grace, who is always with us, she said, could never answer a math question in a quiz. Just today, I got 43 on a test. I mean, it's not comment, but still don't know how I did it. Well, Grace, we love Grace. She's a school student over in America. She loves her British quizzing. She's tuning in. I think it's inspiring her to sign up for things. So that's really good.
Brilliant. Well done, Grace.
Talking about your team, Daniel, as Beth talked about the gender diversity or lack of. I mean, obviously, by the point of this series, we have seen a lot of good female players over the course of the series. How was your team chosen?
So I've run the selection for my college for the last couple of years, and we've tried to do it in the most meritocratic way possible, in that we do a very long written selection test, and that's just, there are sort of 5 or 6 slots of an evening you can come along to and do this written paper. That just gets marked, and there are different categories in it as well. So the questions, they're all old UC starter questions, as far as I know. From the producers provide you with a set of questions to use for your selection test, and from the written selection test, you normally take about 10 or 12 through to a buzzer round, and then from the buzzer round, whittle down to 4 plus reserve. And not only on raw score, because what you'll find is in a given set of questions, especially on UC, there's a lot of stuff that everyone gets, a lot of stuff that absolutely nobody gets, or maybe 1 or 2 people get, and then a bit in the middle. So we, instead of just doing total score, we also did complementary score. So i.e., if you group these people into 4 or 5, which is what you eventually have to produce, which group of 4 or 5 people get the highest combined score? I think that's probably one of the most important things, because especially if people have watched UC for a long time, you can get a grasp of the superficial questions very easily. You know, you can get a grip of 4 or 5 composers in from each country. You can get a lot of the stuff that you can need to answer the surface questions. But if everyone's getting the same questions right, you've not helped yourself by picking 4 or 5 of those people. 4 or 5 people with very different knowledge areas is what to aim for. And I think that's the difficult thing to achieve. Yeah.
I was going to ask, was it you had a range of subjects in your team, subject matter, and did you find that helped in the selection? I always think that having a range does.
I did ask what course people were studying on the front of their paper, but to be honest, I don't think it factored in as much as just what answers they got, because often you'll realise that people are just answering stuff nowhere near their subject area anyway. So James is a mathematician on the end. Obviously, that was crucial in his complex number buzz this evening, but he also just can cover all of it. I mean, you probably noticed he just buzzes on maps immediately, and he buzzes on English kings and queens and all the history stuff that is I describe it sort of very British, list history. He knows all of that. So I think it's a combination. They have, you look at their subjects. I mean, I'd be worried, for example, putting more than 1 medic on a team. I think medics are notably kind of quite involved in their own subject and not that broad. So I think subjects matter, but perhaps what they answer on a selection quiz more so.
Once you've got your team together, then how do you go about training and filling in the gaps that might exist within your team?
Yeah, so I mean, this is one of the things we considered at the start. Is it possible to actually just plug all the gaps through sheer cramming? And I think after a couple of minutes of thinking whether that was possible or not, we decided it wasn't. And instead of going for a kind of, should we just learn all the stuff we can, we just sort of did the quiz as practice, and the practice was really just playing University Challenge amongst the 5 or 6 of us. We actually had 2 reserves in the end because of a COVID situation, so we actually had some more people involved than a usual year. But we just played the quiz, really. Old questions in there are 3 Paxman era books. There are a few Lambda era books, maybe slightly out of date now, and there are tons of YouTube videos of shows. So yeah, we didn't really try to cram things, and the reason I think that maybe is less of a good idea as it originally sounds is, in my opinion, the game is basically decided on the buzzer. You know, you could have a situation where the quiz is decided on the same number of starter questions got by each team and the bonus conversion is different. But I think that is in the minority of cases. And one of the things about cramming things is that it's not really ingrained in your brain. And if you're sitting in front of Jeremy Paxman in a studio, it really needs to be stuff you're buzzing on, is stuff you actually know sort of organically. I don't know if other teams found that. This might just be us. But I found that people buzzed on stuff they just sort of knew, worked out, or was just sort of in there, if that makes sense. Not stuff that they were going down a list in their head to the last thing they learned about that subject and picked it out. Because I think that's even harder to do on the buzzer than in just a written or kind of spoken quiz.
Yeah, certainly. Interesting perspective, actually. Michael Cohen from Imperial College, friend of the show, was on last week. I think he's on next week as well. Says your selection and work paid off. It was a great game. Congrats, Dan. He says he's told you that before. But yeah, very, very much a great game. Gerard, who can't resist a gag, you can't say statisticians don't count. So that's and he also raises a good point here about specialist colleges. You know, we do sometimes see them, but actually sometimes that specialism can count against them, particularly when you get towards the later stages of the competition. But, I'm interested, and we got a comment here which says looking forward to seeing Eggheads back on TV. So, Beth, that must have made your week.
Yes, yeah, it did.
Finally giving me a reason to watch that channel. Now, I mean, I know you of old, Beth. Before you were Davis, what changed? What changed for you when you became a member of the Eggheads panel? And I'm thinking now about preparation. You know you were going to have questions fired at you personally, nowhere to hide as an individual. How did you start kind of brushing up? Did you target weaker areas? Did you just go for everything? How did you approach becoming a pro?
Well, I'm barely one of those. I'll call it my side hustle because I have a full-time job as well. So yeah, it's I still worry. I really worry about my weak areas, and it's very exposed on Eggs. So if you watch us for any length of time, you get to know where our strengths and weaknesses lie. Unfortunately, some of our contestants don't pay attention very often, and I get called up against science. My background is in science, so they go, oh, microbiologist. That's a bit of a. Why did I pick that person? Anyway, yeah. So I do. I've got a small boy, and he's very good at quizzing as well. So I try and learn through him while he's learning. I'm trying to learn as well. All my weak areas. I'm not very good at geography. Hint. If anybody's coming on, so my next task is rivers and mountains and stuff. China and India are my particular sticking points, but I do a lot of Sporkle quizzes. I do the wiki quiz. I try and do 2 or 3 at least a week of those, and they cover such broad strokes of things, from really general knowledge to really nuance specific parts of medicine that we've had. I got a solo yesterday on a sports question, which I was very proud of. But yeah, it's just finding the time to just do a little bit here and there, and just try and get it in there. And it's repetition. It's seeing the questions over and over again, or hearing something on the news. You go, I must look that up. It's just it's the stuff that we all know. It's just repeat.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because if I'd managed to edit things more quickly today, there would be a video out in the Quiz Academy talking about the value of repetition in fixing something in your memory. A chap called Herman Ebbinghaus came up with the forgetting curve and how repetition in your learning fixes it, and then your learning starts to fade on a shallower curve thereafter. So that's my little plug for that video. But then that also leads on to and other methods of kind of learning, and which I don't want to spoil, but did you build, either of you, have you built your personal quiz database of questions? Is that something you've done? No.
No, I don't have time for that.
No, I've got a large stack of sort of just university challenge questions, but it's not really structured in any way. Just sort of stuff to read out with the team. I've never really thought about, especially this is the first sort of. Well, actually, I've done a couple of other things, but this is the first ever sort of serious thing that we've tried to practice for. And having a team really makes that much easier. If you've got to do everything yourself, feels much more daunting than just going, I'll just leave the history and geography to these people. That's eliminating 2 of the facets of human knowledge. I'll just go and look at some paintings and remember what medicine things are. Yeah, so it makes it much easier. So no, I don't think I've really nailed down any sort of database, but yeah, just trying to get access to as many questions as possible. That's I think an important thing.
Well, database is going to be many
too long.
ways.
Sorry, I've been doing this too long to start having a system now.
Yes, I think there comes a point at which you think, okay, I've kind of reached my limit, but you still have to keep working. It's just whether you're going to put in that kind of serious effort. I'm interested, Daniel. You said you've been on some other things. What might we have seen you on before?
Well, you haven't. You're probably going to. Well, if you remember 2009's Richard Hammond's Blast Lab, you might remember that as a quiz. But I was on Brain of Britain just before lockdown, and the My Generation thing that filled in for that during lockdown. Yeah. I was on those 2 Radio 4 things. I didn't do it brilliantly on either, but yeah, those are the 2 things I've done other than UC.
Cool. Gerard says, I spent a lot of time writing questions for myself, but rarely give myself enough time to look back through them. That's the important thing about having a system, is that you kind of have some sort of structure to it. But nonetheless, I think the act of writing questions in itself is very useful because you're packaging it and processing it as you do it. Harry Heath, who's been on this series of Mastermind and won the other week, I started using a flashcard app, gradually building it up, and I think that's again quite common as an approach. Beth, you've been on a few things, putting
I did the one or two,
you've been on Mastermind quite a number of times.
I have 5.
What did you make? What did you make of tonight's episode?
Oh well, Jonathan. I mean, what can you say about Jonathan? Absolutely amazing. And I'm a big fan of Poirot, so I was trying to answer the questions as well with him. He was stunning, and I think possibly. I mean, I don't watch a lot of Mastermind as not as a rule. It just clashes with my family life. But I made a concerted effort to watch this evening, and I think we may have seen the winner in that, possibly in Jonathan.
Yeah,
I mean, too much on his shoulders, but yeah.
No, I put on Twitter that I thought he was a potential champion. Just that performance, the speed, and I think that's what he reminded me of Gary Grant when he won it that year, who was just very quick. Not just quick when the question was finished, but then getting through the words really quickly.
Yes,
one thing to do it on your subject, but then to do it in general knowledge, where you don't kind of have an idea of what's coming. I mean, that was superb. Daniel, have you come up against Jonathan? Because he was a UC player, wasn't he, a couple of years back?
I think our sort of ages are slightly out of being against each other, but I've met him a few times and he's really lovely. And as energetic as you saw him in Mastermind in real life. And actually the energy probably really helped him today. Just a normal background energy on top of the adrenaline. He just got through everything, as you said. I made a couple of notes. He got asked the most specialist subject questions, I think, getting 100% of them right. Therefore, meant he got the most right. And then he got equal number of most general knowledge asked, I think. So the speed really helped, and the accuracy helped on top of that.
Yeah, he was superb. Beth, how did you find it? You've been in that chair.
Yeah.
You know what it's like. When you were watching him, say, he looks like a potential champion. What
Which
was it about him?
Well, he's like you say, it was this. He's done this probably in his head lots and lots of times. And from what I know, he wrote himself thousands of banks of questions for this specialist subject, and sounded like he would know all the answers to all the questions he'd ever written and would ever be written about Poirot. It's just speed of recall is very important, and I wonder whether Jonathan all felt the same way as I did when I was sitting in the chair. It's just that everything else just blocks out completely, and all it is you and John Humphreys, and it's just I was very focused when I sat in the chair, and I found it quite say easy, but my specialist rounds I found relatively straightforward, and I wonder whether he felt the same. It's just a steely-eyed focus, drill down, that's it, me and him, and off we go. Nothing else surrounding you, no extraneous noise.
Yeah, and you're hoping that nothing kind of comes out of left field and throws you. And you had one example back in the day, good few years ago now, where you gave a correct answer and you were told it was wrong.
That was interesting. I just sort of brushed it off. So if I remember correctly, and apologise to the viewers if they remember better than I do, I was asked what the chemical element with the symbol Ti was. I answered. What would you answer, Daniel?
Titanium.
Correct, and that's what I answered, only to be told by Mr. Humphreys that the answer was thallium. And it's like, okay, all right, we'll just carry on. And I just sort of brushed it off, and we carried on. And I can't even remember which of my many rounds that was. And the day after it was broadcast, or the Monday after it was broadcast, I got a phone call from the producer saying, we're terribly sorry, Beth. We don't know how that got through the edit. We're terribly sorry. Would you like to come on next year with your choice of subject? I said, yes, thank you very much. I'd like to do Jonathan Creek. See you next year. And I've worked out what happened. And John Humphreys had read T lowercase l as T capital I. Which, it's easy to do if you're reading things in a rush, I suppose. So,
but it didn't throw you then in that instance?
No, I just thought, I've got that wrong. Carry on. It's not really, not. I didn't overthink it. I think that's important, not to get in your own head. We saw Amy this evening, unfortunately, get into a past spiral, and that is just so demoralising. I felt really sorry for her, actually. It's just one thing you just need to get out of your own head. Let it slide.
I thought her topic was one of the examples of stuff that's really hard to revise comprehensively as well, though. She picked the exact thing was the county of Gloucestershire.
County of Gloucestershire.
So it wasn't the history of Gloucestershire or the geography of Gloucestershire. It was just anything that the question writers could think of about Gloucestershire, which I imagine is quite hard to define, compartmentalize, and then just absorb all of. And I think, especially if the first question was on a pig or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The first question was on something you don't know, and you thought, I didn't think about that coming up. It's a thing from that county, maybe not on, for example, lists or Wikipedia pages or geography of that county. That might really throw you for the rest of the category, thinking, have I done the right thing for this specialist subject? And maybe that contributed. Obviously, we don't know, but it seemed a really hard thing to revise, and in comparison to this TV series, which is very easy to sort of cover from start to finish.
Yeah, or This Man, which is what Richard did. So it's,
Yeah. I mean, it's such a broad subject, and I always say that if you're picking a mastermind subject, you want defined parameters so that you know when you've covered everything. Which is why the life of somebody is really good, because you know when they were born, you know when they died, and you can nail all the stuff in between. Or an event or something like that. But when it's something like Gloucestershire, and I think we've seen a couple of others where it's proved tricky. Although one person I think recently did Greek mythology.
Yeah, the whole of Greek mythology.
The whole of Greek mythology, which was kind of like going back 40 years in Mastermind history when people had really, really broad subjects. But otherwise, it's probably not quite advisable to kind of leave yourself open to being sideswiped by, the nickname of a rugby ground or the name of a fountain or whatever, which, were very good questions in the context of the subject, but hard to see how you can cover all of that as a contestant. So felt very sorry for her. She did keep going. She fought back a little bit in her general knowledge, but I think after that first round, you'd be forgiven for your head having dropped, and all you want to do is get home or get back to the hotel room or something. The others did well enough. Richard had a good strong round.
He did,
Barbara, not such a good first round, but actually picked up really well in general knowledge. So that was great. We're going to put you on the spot, Dan. Michael is saying, what would your specialist subject be?
Well, I don't know if he's asking this because he knows, but I've applied to Mastermind with the sketch comedy of Mitchell and Webb. Which when I applied, I thought, that's good. I watch all of that, and I've listened to that, and I thought, that would be easy to revise. And then I realised it's quite a number of hours because they've done 5 series of a radio show, 4 series of a TV show, and another 1 series of a TV show. And some of it overlaps. So some of radio they took to TV. And I don't know if that's better or worse because it sort of confuses things in your mind. But yeah, that's my first go-to. Probably Peep Show. Had I been able to pick a show, Peep Show I would have done on its own. But someone did that a couple of years ago on Mastermind. Dave Gregson, maybe? I can't remember exactly. Yeah. I picked that, and I've picked a few other things in the sort of where you have to give 5 when you apply to Mastermind.
I remember having to give a list as long as my arm because all of my original subjects were vetoed. So I wrote out anything that I might have been possibly interested in and read them to the researchers, and they said yes or no. I think that's how I ended up doing the life and work of Edward Hopper, which you can see in the background in my dining room.
So Beth, what do you think was your best choice of subject out of all the ones you did? The one where you think, actually, wise choice, nailed it.
Muppet movies. Absolutely. Well, I got Full House on Muppet movies, so I mean that's got to be your best one, hasn't it? That had been vetoed a few years before. Too juvenile. Why would you want to put something like the Muppet movies on? Is that the Muppet? The first Muppet film is the same age as me, so yeah, that's got to be the best, isn't it? And there was a Muppet question in both OC and Mastermind.
Yes. So we had Rainbow Connection came up, didn't it, in Only Connect? I can't remember the question in Mastermind.
Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem.
Electric Mayhem. Okay, yes. So it shows that it's permeated into the consciousness in many ways. So if we talk about Only Connect, you've been on it, haven't you, Beth? Or I'm not imagining it.
Oh no, Series 5 back in 2011. 10 years ago. Wow.
Oh God! Just a little comment here. This is he's given the clue away. Michael the Borough. So that's Michael McPartland. If your subjects get turned down, never give them a new one straight away. Say you'll get back to them later, so you can have proper think and what will actually suit you. That's good advice. Too juvenile bodes well for my choice of WrestleMania, says Jason. Well, I know Michael the Borough would be looking on enviously if you end up doing that. Only Connect tonight. I thought, that was a cracking match. It felt quite tough at points.
It seemed really hard, and I think the total score tells you that, doesn't it? It was lower than usual, but really close going into Missing Val.
Oh, I didn't even make a note of the score. I'm terribly sorry.
Michael said, "Oi, WrestleMania is reserved for me." Unlucky, Michael. Your timing is bad again. I thought there was round 1. I scored quite heavily on, but it kind of fell nicely. The Treaty of Versailles one, the heroin trademark. It's like, okay, I know that one.
Well, I knew you had it, and that was as far as I got. I knew it was Bayer, but knew nothing else.
Me too.
Yeah.
But I love the first names: Ted Turner, Babe Ruth, Carrie Fisher,
That was good.
Amelie Mauresmo. I thought that was a beautiful little bit of misdirection. Helps if you recognise Ted Turner, which I didn't, but the person sat next to me did. Valerie, she got that one, so that helped.
That was a really gutsy buzz to go off Babe and
On
the
3,
year.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you might. Well, what you need to decide if that's what you want to, how you want to play it. But really good buzz off one clue, basically. Yeah.
And there is that kind of gamble in your head, isn't there? Because generally with Only Connect, you're not literally facing off against the opposition. You get the question, you get the full shot at it. Unlike University Challenge, where you're having to try and get in first. But in that case, they are gambling that they're going to score heavily on this, and there's some sort of risk reward ratio thing going on. But yeah, no, gutsy buzz. I was absolutely baffled, and this is a sort of question I love, baffled by the driving on the left and right.
Yeah.
But as soon as it's explained, it's so darn obvious.
Yeah, I got just trapped by the fact that on the lines thing there was a number of holes, and I thought, the number of holes here are going to mean something in terms of exactly what they thought, borders or whatever.
Borders, rivers. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Gerard saying I got dwarf planets for 5.
I got it for 3. Yeah.
Sorry?
I got it for 3.
Yeah. I mean, I called it for 5, but again, it's like, could it go in a different direction? Because we had dwarf planets when I was on Only Connect.
Was Pluto then one, or was it still a planet when you were on Gallifrey?
No. Ouch, Beth. Ouch.
I don't even know if OC existed when Pluto was there.
No, I don't think it did. I think it was about 2006, 2007 that Pluto got demoted. But yeah, thanks for that, Beth. No, we had. I think we actually gave an acceptable answer, but not the one they had on the card. We gave I think we gave order of size, and they had proximity to the sun, but our sequence worked, so we got away with that. But Halmir, Makamaka, whenever I see one of those come up or a clue about them, you think, okay, that's going to be dwarf planets one way or another. And if it's round 1, it should be fairly obvious. But I loved the comment about, are they all gods who've got flaming hair or hair of fire? I thought that was brilliant and entirely worthy of Dungeon Masters.
I wonder whether they'd taken the misdirection from Hades in Disney's Hercules having hair of fire. But
right.
That may well be the case, actually. Yeah. Any other questions that jumped out to you?
I liked and thought was really hard the paintings question with the times of day.
I found that tricky.
Yeah, I thought 2 of the paintings were well known, and 2 of them were really hard. The Gainsborough one, and the
Seurat one.
It was the Seurat was pretty.
Yeah,
Sunday afternoon was okay, and then the Rousseau night one, or evening. It was evening actually. Yeah, I thought the Gainsborough and the Rousseau were hard titles to get. But a nice idea for a question.
Yeah, nice idea. Very nice idea. Yeah, I liked the Euro. Sadly, I couldn't believe I didn't get it with the Eurovision one. So I was going, Andy Abrams, he was in X Factor and he was in Eurovision. And why do I know the name Michael Rice? I just couldn't join the dots.
It's not the kind of thing that I know, but is Gemini one of the things that comes up in quiz a lot for lowest score?
For being terrible.
Absolutely terrible. Yeah, no, I didn't know the first guy, Rice, but Josh DeBovie, I was sat there thinking, why do I know that name? And then I
didn't know that name. I knew Michael. I heard the first thing I said to my husband was, why do I know the name Michael Rice? He wouldn't know. He hates Eurovision. Make him watch it every year though. But yeah, Gemini should have got that. And I did know that Lord of the Rings was in 6 parts, but couldn't get the links to that either.
Yeah, that was a tricky one.
Which when it said theoretically, I knew it wasn't going to be the 3 books. It was going to be the 6 parts.
The other thing I didn't think I deserved to get, but was the sports personality of the year. I saw Johnny Wilkinson. I thought could be lots of stuff. And then Mary Peters just vaguely rang a bell from one of those things you hear in a list and just ignore. And I thought they probably both won Sports Personality of the Year. And if they've given you something in brackets on Only Connect, it's probably a category of thing. So I thought, okay, yeah. Thinking about that, is he the only Johnny Rock is the only rugby union player? Go for the only one in that category. That's probably one of the few things I would have got before the teams. Fair play to the teams.
I can't think of what I would have got before the teams.
Yeah, I mean, I kicked myself over the Blackadder one because I think, like everybody else, I got sidetracked with Harry Potter. But the black and white tiles is so obvious. That was my childhood watching Blackadder, and so very annoying, very annoying.
Inevitable.
But and the walls, neither of them aced their walls.
No, the walls were hard.
Yeah, they just seemed
hard.
hard.
I got a group. I got moths. That's the first thing I saw was moths, and they didn't get moths. But I don't think I would have got much else.
This might have been because I didn't know the connections, but I thought the second one had lots of groups with 5 or 6 possibilities. And as a result, the teams tried the anagrams of the countries for almost over half of their time. Don't know if that would have had an impact, because I actually got quite a few of the groups in the end. But yeah, I thought that made it even more difficult. If there's something that you everyone's going to spot early, but there's 6 of them, how much time do you spend working out versus doing other stuff first?
You need somebody to stand there doing the cycling. Yeah, well, you need the captain there because
which now has to be the captain.
Yeah, now has to be the captain. It wasn't when Gareth and I were on it. You need to spend the time cycling while other people are working other things out. It's it is time consuming. Yeah,
it is. I mean, the anagrams, nothing felt kind of obscenely hard, but yeah, apart from maybe expecting people to know the Welsh word for 5. But yeah, I think that's fair. But others might think that's tricky.
We would.
But yeah, I mean, it was good because that 5.6 points that they got on that really set up a great finish on Missing Vowels. There's only 2 points between them when it got to Missing Vowels, and we've had, and somewhere Gerard has, I think it's Gerard, somebody has posted about we've talked about answer smashes before.
Smash.
Yeah, they were.
No, it was Harry. We talked about answer smashes here, and the 3 movie mashup was one of my favorites of the season. He said, I have to say, I loved it.
It was hard.
But if I had been on the team that was trailing, I would have been thinking, wow, these are long ones, both to kind of get your head round and then to pronounce. It didn't really. I think we only had 2 groups, didn't we? 2 groups of vowels, and it didn't really afford much opportunity for fighting back.
No,
no, that was unfortunate. It's it as I'm sure you've discussed before, the length of time for the vowels is variable depending on what time is left. And because they both used up all their time on the walls, it meant we had a shorter Missing Vowels round. It was only 2 rounds, and one having the 3 film answer smash just left no room.
I mean, that said, No Country for Old Men in Black Panther is just sublime. So whoever wrote them, brilliant. But I think I'd have probably. I suppose after that there were 6 points in it, so it's not as if another set of vowels would have got the après skiers back in. But that was just noticeable to me. But I did enjoy that. So yeah, it was a good victory. We've got now the 3rd, 4th place playoff next week.
Yep.
We will have Lindsay Baumeister back on the show from the Whodunits, who are one of the teams competing in that. She's always good value. Also, next week we've got, I think, Michael Cohn back because Imperial are back in action. I'm not actually sure who they're playing. But
I don't know if I'm. I know, but I'll let them say. I think that's fair enough.
Yes, no, that's fair enough. We don't want anybody to get into trouble with any spoilers or anything. It's we know what the world of TV is like. There are not many people, and there are long memories. So we'll wait until the Radio Times declares it. So next week we've got those two back on, who are a bit of a double act. That'll be the third time they've been on. Tremendous. So anything else that really jumped? Oh, hang on, Michael's saying Warwick.
He's told you anyway.
He's told us.
He's happy to get into trouble.
He's already filmed it, so
I mean, Michael, he's got that devil may care, joie de vivre, savoir faire, whatever. He doesn't care. But anyway, it's probably in the Radio Times. So thanks, thanks for that, Michael. So anything else that kind of came out of tonight, Daniel? Anything we've not talked about on University Challenge? Because I know we kind of scooted around, the shows a bit, but from your perspective, it's been a long, hard fight to get to where you are now. So it's semi-finals, isn't it?
Yeah, it is now.
What were your expectations when you set out on the journey, applied to go on, and got cast? Where did you think was your kind of realistic, kind of ambition, where you would be disappointed if you hadn't made it that far?
So, well, first of all, this is my third go applying to get on. So, and in UC terms, that's sort of middling. I know people who have got on first go easily, and I know people who have done 6 or 7 goes. So, I'm sort of in the middle.
Well, you're lucky, Daniel. Neither Gareth or I got a chance.
No, I know. Were you in the interregnum period where there was no?
Yeah, pretty much. Yes.
Gareth, I wasn't quite. But
I was. I put in. I was union president the first year it came back.
Right.
So I did what most union presidents did that year, and formed a team and put myself as reserve. And we didn't get on, which was disappointing. I did manage to get some Cranfield University teams on later on when I was working there. So I live vicariously through others, but my own personal University Challenge experience was sitting in a room doing a written quiz and then going home. So that was it.
Gareth
so sorry, Daniel.
Sorry. Gareth and I went to the same university as well. So.
Yes.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Years apart.
So Daniel, you see, you've had many shots at it. We'll get there eventually. Before we start reminiscing about the old days, you had many shots at it. When you were told you were on, is it still Irene, Daniel? When you were told you were on, what did you think? Okay, this time, if I get to semi-finals, I'll be happy, or is it we've got to get to the final, or we've got to win it?
I honestly didn't think. When you get the call, and I missed the call, as I think lots of people do, because I was in the clinical school where there's no signal, so there's no chance of me ever getting a call from Salford. I just thought, missed call Manchester. Wait, is there today the 31st of Jan? I know what that means. I knew that was good news, because I don't think they phoned the people who are rejected. So if you get a call, that's a good sign. But obviously it would be bad if they then did call everyone and I misjudged that and then was disappointed. I got a call, and honestly I was shaking. The terror was immediate. I thought, because they phoned us in late January, and at that point we were filming at the end of start of March. So they don't give you too much notice, and you think, in 4 weeks I've got to sit and do this thing in front of Jeremy Baxter and cameras and audience that I've wanted to do for ages, but do I really have any skill at doing? I've never really checked. Can I actually do it in front of the audience? So I think this terror sets in so much that you think about each hurdle as it goes along, and it wasn't that we must get to the quarterfinals or we must get to the semi-finals. It was just we need to do enough practice to not disgrace ourselves in the first round. And the other thing is, obviously UC is a mixture of, you have to be very good to get far, and you also have to not come up against the wrong teams at the wrong time. Even though there's a high scoring loser round, if you meet the winners in the first round, it's entirely possible they don't let you get a high scoring loser score. And if you meet the winners in the second round and they do perform the better out of the 2 teams that are there, you get knocked out, because the second round is straight knockout. So I don't think I ever saw the sort of stage of the competition as the way to judge the goal. It was sort of just really just try and play the questions and the team that you're facing. One thing that is always fun is that you don't know who you're facing until you turn up. Unless you've made some sort of subterranean conversation with every other team and asked what their call time is. But we never did that. We always thought that it would be best to find out as you're there, because then no stress builds up as a result of knowing. But we turned up and actually then had breakfast in the hotel next to our first round opposition and said, oh, yeah, we're going in at 11 o'clock. When are you going in? Oh, 11 o'clock. Ah, we see what this means. I don't know if it's intentional, but we played the team University College Oxford that in about 2000 my college lost 85 to 335 in the first round off. So I don't know whether that was sort of let's repeat the historical fixture or just coincidence. You never know. And then once we knew we were playing at Oxford College, and I actually knew a couple of them because they do Oxford Quiz Society. I thought, oh, we're just going to need to be good even to get through now. So even doing respectively against these people would be good enough.
I don't know about you, Beth, but the whole discussing call times thing. I confess to having done that in respect to Mastermind back in the day, of knowing people, and it's like, what day are you going up? And it doesn't lead anywhere positive. If you work out who's in your heat, that doesn't give you any comfort whatsoever. So I don't know why we do it, but
but we do it anyway, don't we? When I was doing Make Me an Egghead, we knew there was didn't really matter about the men's competition because I was never going to be in that one. But the ladies' competition is like, well, who have they got going on, and which 10 of us or 20 of us, can't remember now, ladies have they chosen to go on, and then which from the head-to-heads are going to go through. And it's just you walk around the corner onto set and you saw the leaderboard, so you go, oh, why isn't a name I expect to be there not there? And I really expected some people's names to be there, and I just this is getting very weird. And then you just go, oh, just accept that, move on, get it out your head, think about that later. You've got something else to do. Let's go on and do it. Call times is they keep. So we don't. When we film Eggheads, they don't put us in the same hotel as the contestants. They're all somewhere else, unless there's specific reasons why they need to be closer to the studio. So we don't come up, we don't see the contestants until they on set. Often in makeup, actually, we get to have a nice chat to the contestants in makeup.
Have you ever come up against somebody you recognise from the quiz circuit?
Oh yeah, a few times. Yeah, we've had a few QLL members come on, and we've had Dave Edwards on before. Came on with a group of his choir, his church choir. They pop up now and again.
One thing that I'm quite interested in just touching on, we probably haven't got time to do it justice, but in the intro, I was talking about the kind of the zero tolerance of abuse at quiz contestants. And I know that women tend to get it pretty bad. And I know Michael Cohen says he's had some anti-Semitic comments whilst he's been on. Dan, has anything kind of come your team's way during the course of this series?
So I don't look at YouTube or Twitter myself, and people just normally forward the positive stuff, which is actually quite a nice way of doing it.
Yeah.
But to be honest, our team has actually got very little comment at all. I think we're really boring, which is actually not a bad thing to be in terms of appearing on UC. Occasionally, Kerry, who's our far right, she's doing theology for ministry, so next September she will be doing being a curate. I think she got a couple of things saying sort of like, oh, how dare you make a living out of lying, that sort of thing, all that sort of anti any sort of religious stuff, and occasional sort of personal things of like, oh, you're annoying, or you're a Tory minister, which I find a very odd thing to say to a medical student, because doctors generally aren't Tory ministers, but fair enough. And I hope there's not that much overlap. I think yeah, we've done it. We've been okay, I think, relatively. But yeah, obviously you see as a target for lots of bile and horrible comments, and the stuff Michael's got's been especially horrible, and really should be protected. We've done our best to report that on YouTube as soon as we've seen it, and thankfully the people who upload UC videos on YouTube are quite good at removing that themselves, and they have the power to, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, we've created, we put up some banners, and when we saw some tonight, we put some kind of, some pictures up on people's posts to basically say, what you think is funny, somebody else will think is insulting. There's no place for insulting quizzes. Because Beth, I mean, I'm sure you've come in for some over the years. We know of quizzes who won't go back on TV because of what they've faced,
and that's
some of it is horrendous, isn't it?
It's horrific, and there is just no call for it. I mean, there's just the keyboard warriors sitting behind their laptops or computers, just spouting bile at women and sorry, Daniel, mostly women, because it is a lot of the female quizzes that come in a lot of the grief, just because they happen to have gone on a TV show to show their knowledge. And it's just disgusting. I've had me and my female ed colleagues, we get it quite a lot. I've come off Twitter I was on Twitter and I came off because of it. We're just seen as in my case, I'm fat. I am smug. I have no sense of humour. I think I might do. I just honestly, Gareth, Daniel, I'm nervous. I'm sitting in front of that screen going, I'm just going to make a complete tit of myself if I don't get this right. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I mean, but I am sitting behind, really nervous. And I'm still really nervous because of how I'm going to be perceived by the general public. And I shouldn't be. I should be proud of my achievements, and everybody should be proud of their achievements of how they've done on quiz shows. And I just want to show people what I know and make a game of it. At the end of the day, it's entertainment, and it's an entertainment show. So let's just entertain.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's that there's I think there's a continuum, and I did post about it earlier in the week, and brought about by tragic events in London partly, but seeing that there is a continuum between people who objectify, the women quizzes who then kind of get sexualized in comments on social media, or the people who treat them as less than human. For me, there is a continuum that leads to very tragic events, and it does. It's all part of a spectrum of terrible attitudes. And I think the one thing we as quizzes can do on our turf, like the Twitter thread for any particular show, is call this stuff out.
Yeah.
Make the experience of the trolls so deeply unpleasant that they won't come back again. Call them out on it. Tell them that it's bad. That's kind of what we're trying to do through All Things Quiz, because we want more diversity. We want more women, more people of color, more trans. We want quizzes of every different type to participate in quiz, and we don't want keyboard warriors, as you say, Beth, making the experience so terrible they don't come back, or so terrible when they see it happening to others that they don't even try in the first place. So
it's the not even try is the I am lucky, I suppose, that I went into quiz a long time. I went into quiz well before Twitter. I mean, it was actually even before Facebook. So it was that long ago, and it wasn't around, so I didn't see any abuse hurled towards me because it just wasn't there. So I was protected in that way. But the younger quizzes now aren't so protected, and they probably feel very vulnerable wanting to apply for shows because, as I said before, that how they might be perceived. They might have blue hair. Who cares? It's hair. I mean, I've got a nose stud. I mean, that's never been brought up at all, ever, on the show. It's what you look like is no measure of who you are as a person. So
Indeed. Grace says we really need more representation in hosts and contestants, and I hope to see it in my life. There was an interesting discussion in America, in the Quiz Bowl in America. They had a round table I don't know what you call it, on Zoom on Saturday evening, which I joined and had a look, which was all about equality, diversity, and inclusion in Quiz Bowl. And they were talking about, the experience of Black and ethnic minority quizzers. Their experience is slightly different from ours in that they've got these team structures and coaches, and it's a lot more formal. But a lot of it did resonate with what these people were saying on the panel about their experience. And I think it's time we had a discussion here in the UK about these things. And the quiz community was kind of open and honest with itself. And kind of committed to a path forward. I know I'm kind of getting a bit flag waving here, but I think there's only so many times you can kind of shake your head and go, "Well, it's terrible what happens to Hannah." I can't remember her surname. Hannah Woods, was it a few years ago or whatever? On University Challenge. Oh, it's terrible. And then people doing nothing about it, or just thinking reporting it to Twitter is enough. I think we have to kind of, as a group, take a stand. Kind of an unusually sort of downbeat end to one of these things. So, Beth, you've got exciting things coming up. Eggheads is going back into production. When are you going to be filming your next block? Because I see. Go on. Sorry.
No, you go.
No, because have they put out the contestant call already?
They have, contestant call went. Well, basically, the contestant call went out straight as Jeremy announced it on his show on Friday. So, anybody, would you like to come on the show? We need groups of 5. We're filming in early May. I don't know when it would be broadcast yet, but we'll be filming for a few days in early May, which will be nice to see everybody back again, apart from the lovely Dave Rainford, who we miss terribly.
Yeah, we talked about Dave last week because it was the anniversary of his passing. Much missed, much loved. A great character, great quizzer, but more importantly, a great person. So he will be a big miss on that panel. But it is good to see you back. In the studio, 'cause more quiz on TV, the better.
More quiz professionals back on TV. That's lovely. Thanks very much.
Daniel, you've got a mastermind application in. That aside, what are your quiz ambitions, if you have any?
I'd like to do. I've applied for Pointless many times with a school friend because one of the things we used to do when it started really was watch all 5 episodes from the week on a Friday evening at one of our houses. Just play through it as though we were one of the pairs and see how we do. And we've had annoyingly timed applications, so we've had invitations for auditions when one of us has been abroad and one of us has been on years abroad, that sort of things. That's really annoying. So we're hoping we'll get called up for that. Obviously, at the moment, it's quite difficult because they're looking for people in bubbles, which we're not necessarily at the moment. Mastermind, I have an application in for. I'd like to do Brain of Britain again, but there has to be an elapsed 5 years, I think, between the 2 appearances on that. So that'd be 2025, which sounds like a made-up year at the moment. But yeah, that would be fun. And Only Connect, I'm not as great at the lateral thinking sort of puzzly stuff, but I know I've got some friends who are really good at that. So if I could persuade them to form a team, possibly.
Well, we look forward to that. I just leaves me to say thank you very much, Daniel. Congratulations again on very, very entertaining win. Thanks. Probably more entertaining than you would have liked, but certainly a very entertaining win. Thanks again.
It's good that it's exciting.
Thanks again to Beth for coming on. Lovely to chat to you. Lockdown means that, God, that's probably the longest I've chatted to you for over a year. So since the Only Connect reunion.
Only Connect reunion, yeah.
And I don't remember any of that. So
who does?
So thank you to both of you. thanks to everybody who's watched and put comments in. Sorry we couldn't kind of bring up all of the comments. There's a lot of stuff been going on, a lot of discussions have been going along on the side, particularly about apps, which was good. Next week on Quizzy Monday, we've got Michael Cohen from Imperial, and we've got Richard Pollard from Imperial coming on, and we've got Lindsay Baumeister. So I think, yeah. So that will be great for next week's Quizzy Monday, 9 o'clock. We've got this week we've got Quiz Week at 8 o'clock on Thursday, where we'll round up the action in competitive quizzing. A reminder that we had a share of Quizzer of the Week tonight, with Jonathan Gibson tying with Dave Gregson in this week's vote, and the winner of the Team of the Week was the Central Belters from the OQL. So, oh, hang on, I'm being corrected. Richard is Warwick.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. That's making assumptions makes an ass out of me, as it turns out. So, so we got that coming up. We've hopefully got another Quiz Academy video, maybe even 2 coming out this week. Just depends on how much time I get to do editing. One thing I will say is, if anybody's watching, we are looking to bring in some additional hosts for some of our live stuff. Particularly Quiz Week. So if people fancy getting involved in the production of Quiz Week Live and perhaps doing a shift presenting, then please get in contact. We'll put out a kind of formal call fairly soon. So yeah, so that's something that people can get involved with. We also got people writing scripts for Quiz Academy, which is really good. So if you fancy writing a script on something like that, then let me know. Oh, so much happening. If this is the answer, what is the question? Don't forget to vote for that. The new question will come out on Sunday. And don't forget lunchtime quiz time. There's so much going on. Thank you, everybody, for bearing with us, for joining us again, Beth, Daniel, for everybody who's watched, everybody who's posted comments and questions. We will be back again next week for the Only Connect 3rd, 4th place playoff and University Challenge semi-final and Mastermind, whatever point of that competition it is. I think it might be the final heat. So, yeah. We'll see you all again next week. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.